Digital Foundry is proudly sponsored by the Logitech G935 headset.
Hey everyone, it's E3 Day 2, but I'm here to talk about E3 Day 1 and things that happened before here. So, I'm joined to do this by industry legend and my good friend, Audi Sorlie.
Audi,
welcome. So, I thought we should discuss some of the things that we saw yesterday.
We did see a lot.
We did see a lot. There was a lot of stuff there. Some really interesting stuff. So this is a little different. It's just kind of a guerrilla E3 style video, so, try our best. So I got my notes here. Audi, I think we should start with the first thing I saw yesterday, which was actually Doom Eternal.
Right.
So I'm a huge fan of Doom. Anybody that's watched the channel will know that. It's brilliant stuff. The game looked great from the gameplay demos. And I had like a demo that lasted, it was like a very long demo, so it's a solid 45-minute chunk of gameplay.
Right.
But so let's talk about the game first, and I'll tell you how I played it.
Yeah, that's very important.
Very important here. So visually, it is a massive step up from what they did with the original, I think.
Yeah.
With the 2016 game. Just the level of detail on display, really, really good. Obviously targeting high frame rates on all platforms. There's so much more mobility to the game, which I found interesting.
Yeah, that's the first thing I noticed too. It's just how fluid everything was and how much of the playground you could use.
Yeah, the game world seems more vertical, I think,
Yeah.
than 2016 game. So it's like there's a lot of there's hand things to grab onto. You're doing wall runs, wall jumps, double jumps, and the platforming doesn't feel automated in the way that a lot of modern games do. It's very easy to mess up and fall, and you have to do a lot of actions. I guess a good comparison for me is something like the original Mirror's Edge, where you have to execute to get around, but you're also fighting demons, basically. So it's a really beautiful game that's shaping up nice, but how I played it is what's really interesting. So I played it on Stadia.
That's the platform to play on, I hear.
It's an early demonstration. Obviously, show conditions not always the best, though I had to walk out to the YouTube Creators Lounge to do it in this blazing heat.
Yeah.
It was pretty warm. But, so, first of all, the controller, the Stadia controller, was my first time using it, and I was really impressed with actually how comfortable it was.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because from the photos, I always felt it kind of looked not great, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that was what I was thinking too. So I didn't get to hold it, but yeah.
Yeah, so really nice grips, good triggers, good analog sticks with a nice range.
Right.
This is not like the Ouya controller 2.0.
No.
They had it set up with a row of Chromebooks, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
So it had a Chromebook on a table connected to a TV via HDMI. We were running in 1080p. They were not showing the 4K announced stuff yet, so it was 1080p, about 5 stations, so 5 of us playing up there. It was wired internet, and the results right now, so input latency is good. It feels surprisingly responsive. It does feel pretty much like playing a local game. It's not, you can feel a little bit extra delay, but it's not severe in a way. That was the part that impressed me.
Right.
But what didn't impress me was the general performance and image quality.
Yeah.
So, there was a lot of frame stuttering and skipping that didn't appear to be the fault of the game engine. It was just internet lag happening throughout. And, it's exactly the kind of thing I was worried about. Obviously, I assume it can get better than that in different circumstances, but that was noticeable to me. And so I played for a while like that, and then all of a sudden the image just froze solid. The internet went down. So this isn't Stadia's fault, per se, obviously.
Sure.
But it did show me what happens when it goes down. So the cool part about that, though, is that when it did come back up, I just basically clicked to start the game again.
Yeah, it jumps right back in.
Exactly. So there was no gameplay lost. It kept my position. It kept everybody's positions actually, which was cool. In that sense, it was a chance to see how Stadia behaves when this occurs. Because later on, then the internet connection went down a second time, and then it started to sputter. So there was a point where it got very low resolution. It was 360p looking video.
Yeah, right.
The input latency ramped way up. It's basically like watching a very low quality YouTube video. I don't think that's obvious. That's not the intended experience, but it shows us what happens when your bandwidth kind of dies, basically.
Which is a very realistic situation.
Exactly. And this was just the 1080p stream as well. So what they're doing is technically very impressive, I think. I respect that a lot. So I'm very curious to see where it goes from here. Just out of curiosity. It's a difficult engineering problem to solve. So yeah, that's Stadia, that's Doom Eternal. the next thing we should talk about, I guess, for the retro fans. So we had an unannounced Konami game to see, and it turned out to be Contra: The Rogue Core. It's a very different looking game. Sort of channels the look of Neo Contra from PlayStation 2.
Yeah, that was the first thing you and I said when we saw it, was like, Neo Contra. That was a surprise, because you would think they go all the way back, but no, it's more like a Neo Contra thing.
Exactly, and it's being produced by Nakazato himself.
Yeah, very surprising too.
Exactly, so he's been working on the series since Contra 3.
Right, and we did ask about the team, and it is the Japanese team.
That's what he said, it's a Japanese team. They're building the game in Unity.
Yes.
It's nearing completion, but so the first thing that really surprised me is that they're only aiming for 30 frames per second, which is on a PS4, and it's not cool for a Contra game. Yeah, there was a few bits of slowdown in there as well, and the textures were rather grimy. It's not looking great at this point visually.
Yeah, and the game does zoom in and out a lot, so that texture quality does come up a lot.
Exactly. So that's gameplay wise though, it's basically a twin stick shooter, I think. So it's like if you guys have played like Dead Nation, I guess, which are interesting, fun little games. It's a lot like that, but with jumping and a little bit of light platforming here and there. But in general, that's similar to that. So there is that. The music, not brilliant.
Not great. So there are small cues to the former Contra music. We heard it here and there through the small speakers that like, oh, we do recognize it, but it was mostly, like atmospheric, a few strings here and there, small melodies, but for that type of action, very low key.
Yeah, exactly. I recognize the stage complete melody, which was there.
Right.
But a lot of the time during the stages, there didn't seem to even be music at all.
No, not at all.
Which is kind of a bummer. So I mean, it's not a bad game. I think there's a decent little shooter here, but it's not what I was looking for from Contra. So it's difficult to say.
I think one of our main issues was that it goes for a very over-the-top style. There's a lot of humor, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but the humor is a lot of gross-out humor, a lot of profanity, which we felt was just kind of unnecessary. There's a certain limit to that before it gets just kind of cringy, as we said. And yeah, the cutscenes are just profound everywhere. But we should mention, though, that there's some small nods to other Konami games in there that were interesting.
Oh yeah, like
the enemies sometimes will fly right up to the screen, like the foot soldiers in Turtles in Time.
Exactly, just like that, dude. Right in the image. That was cool. I like that a lot. That was a fun detail.
There was another Turtles mentioned there which was one of the characters has a stomach brain creature.
Yeah, the gut bucket they call it.
It's called the gut bucket. All it does is really say outlandish and nasty things to you.
Yep.
But yeah, it was very much crying from Ninja Turtles.
It was exactly that.
I guess Konami's just kind of looking back at their legacy here and just kind of putting all these small nods in.
But hey, we got to play it on these weird looking arcade cabinets with PS4 controllers.
Cool.
That was kind of fun. So, but I mean, that's pretty much Contra for now. I'll look at it more when it gets closer, and we'll see how the technical performance varies. Maybe there's a Pro mode, X mode, PC version. So speaking of that, then another couch co-op style game we played the other day was Battletoads. So
Battletoads.
The sort of revival of the series, and I was pretty excited to see this because
we were both talking about this before E3. We were both most excited just to see the new Battletoads.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's mixed. So the trailer I didn't think looked great, but when you actually see it in person on a large 4K screen, the artwork does hold up pretty nicely.
Yeah.
Animation is smooth, very clean lines. It's got a nice look and feel to it. Punches are suitably crunchy.
There is a lot of weight.
There's a lot of weight to it. So the core mechanics feel okay, but there's some issues I have with the design itself. Namely, first of all, the stage. Basically, in the original, you're constantly kind of moving down the level. Maybe we have some footage here, but you can see, you're kind of always moving. Enemies pop out, take them out, keep moving. There's terrain variation.
It's a very dynamic.
Right. So here, though, it was just a large flat surface, like any brawler.
Right.
But you would go to a screen, and then they would basically just keep spawning enemies, warp them in, and you'd fight for a while until you clear the screen. Then you move on and do it again. And I don't like that kind of pacing. And what makes it worse, though, the way the enemies behave when you've actually punched them to the ground.
That was the biggest challenge for me to enjoy this game, was that every time you down an opponent, they just lay there and you can't really do anything about it. You're used to being able to ram them, kick them, throw them. But in this game, they just lay there and you have to wait a good 10 seconds for it, because there's so much animation in the game that when they're down, they're going to lie there a bit, they're going to crawl around. There's a lot of animation, a lot of personality. But unfortunately, it slows down the game.
And we played it
considerably.
We played it in 3-player mode, actually.
Yes.
And the problem was, like, there's not enough enemies on the screen, so each person would basically pick an enemy at any one point, and it would just be, you punch him, he falls down, you wait. The music was interesting. It's still David Wise, but
it is.
I didn't hear a lot. It was very orchestral sounding.
No, not so much orchestral, but I did listen to it a little bit through the headphones while you guys were playing. And
I haven't heard it, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. There are a lot of nods back to the old tracks. It is David Wise, but it's a little bit kind of Saturday morning cartoon-esque, which, I mean, the look of the game also has a lot of that going for it.
That's true. It's true. Then there's the jet bike sequence, the turbo tunnel.
Yeah, which
I don't mind it. I thought it was all right, actually. It looks okay. It's kind of like it plays a lot like Pepsi Man on PlayStation 1.
Yeah, we were both saying, it's just like Pepsi Man, and it has the same issue as Pepsi Man, where the perspective is from behind, it's not from the side anymore.
Exactly, it's difficult.
I had lots of trouble with the timing because I was never sure really how close any object was. We also should mention that the backgrounds are all 3D.
Yep.
So whereas the main characters are hand drawn. And
yes.
Pretty fantastic, except for some kind of minor design issues. But the backgrounds are a little bit bland.
Right.
And in that sequence especially, they look projected on.
Exactly.
Like a laser game.
Yeah, like a Laserdisc game, exactly. Not the best. So that's kind of Battletoads for now. We'll see where it goes. It's interesting.
It was not bad. It was not bad.
No, absolutely not. It still seems decent, but there's some things I'd like to see improve. Another retro thing I wanted to talk about briefly was the Polymega.
Yeah, you got to play that.
Yeah, this thing's been around for a long time. There's a lot of skepticism thrown at it. And I was actually reasonably impressed with it, actually. Much more than I expected, to be honest. It's I mean, they've been open about what it is now, and it's basically an emulation box, but with like physical hardware component where you can use your real cards and CDs on this thing, and it just sort of works. You can create a library on there. It's got a really nice UI to it.
Yeah, you can install your games from CD
or
cartridge, and it creates a library for their self-built database, they said.
Yep.
So it actually gets like a banner image, game information, all that stuff, and region.
So that was cool. I played around with Neo Geo CD, Sega Saturn, Genesis. What else did we play? PC Engine. PC Engine. And all of them. So the Genesis one was really interesting to me because he was like, "Oh yeah, this is Kega Fusion." And I was like, "Really?"
Yeah. Wow.
It's like it's not that. It's a solid emulator.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been updated in a while. And then he's like, well, we actually got Steve Snake to come back.
Yeah, they got the original programmer back to update the emulator.
So it's an updated version of Fusion with, it's a 64-bit application now, some changes and improvements to it. The sound was still a bit tinny.
Yeah.
Like it was good, but not great. And
you need it. So we played Bare Knuckle 2.
Which was okay.
Which, it's very easy to hear how tinny it is. Then you played Virtua Racing on 32X. Obviously, you would do that. And that sound, we did notice, had a lot of issues.
But honestly, though, that was the only system I feel that had any visible issues. The Saturn emulation was phenomenal.
Yeah. What game did you play on the Saturn?
Several. So, I played Layer Section, I played a couple other shooters, I played Night Striker S.
Yes, on the CD.
And then, of course, I loaded up Choaniki.
Yes, on the Sega Saturn.
If you guys aren't familiar with Choaniki, well, it's an interesting game, and I had a nice crowd behind me, and I loaded up this game, and
Yeah, so when John loaded up Choaniki, which is one of my favorite series, I was looking behind me to see that there was a full crowd to see John Linneman, the legend himself, play retro games on the Polymega. I load up Choaniki, go into the first stage, I looked behind me again, there was no one. So, not the crowd pleaser I thought it was going to be.
No, I don't think so.
It ran it well.
It ran it very accurately.
So Choaniki can be enjoyed on the Polymega as it should be.
So they also had a really nice CRT filter.
Yeah,
It looked
yeah.
really good. Like they sort of simulate the phosphor display. It actually looked really nice. It's not just scan lines.
Yeah, it was like an RGB.
Yeah, there was
emulation.
RGB composite and then
Composite.
like HDMI, which is just like pixel perfect
Yeah, it was just
sharp.
raw pixel.
Tried all the modes, played with them. They all looked pretty darn good. The UI itself is extremely polished. I
Yeah, I was
liked
surprised
it. I was
just
impressed with
how
that.
it's a little bit like Steam, a little bit
The big picture one, but
Yeah.
smoother than that. I thought it
much
worked.
smoother.
It was really, that was nice. I tried out several of the controllers, and I think most of them felt really good. Like decent D-pads, like
decent
solid
D-pad.
buttons.
Yeah, the buttons have a proper click to them. The D-pads are not too mushy.
But the different modules also let you play with original pads
yeah,
if you want.
very
which,
important.
Like there was actually a Sega Saturn pad there. There's other, the Super NES module has Super NES ports.
Right. And you could use the Neo CD pad.
Yep.
You could use the USB pad that came with the Neo Geo Mini.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a lot of controllers.
So the controller options are great.
Yeah.
I also get a chance to sort of play around with the physical box, so like inserting and pulling out cartridges, because that's something that a lot of clone systems don't get right. But it felt really solid.
Right. I was telling you hey, you gotta go up there and actually put a cartridge in to see if it does that well, and it did. Yeah.
So yeah, it's one I want to look at. I prefer playing on real hardware myself, but I could see something like this on a second TV. I mean, it's different than like the analog products, I think, which are very focused on singular platforms with extreme accuracy. I don't think this is going to match that in terms of like just raw perfection, but it gets a heck of a lot closer than I ever imagined, and it plays a lot of things. It's a really nice looking all-in-one box. So consider me surprised.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't expect it to be as nice of a package as it is. So I mean, again, emulator in a box. It doesn't sound that great on paper, but the actual results were pretty darn good.
Yeah, we had Albert Pinello with us to check this out.
Yeah.
And he was saying that you could have a retro room with all the original consoles, but this is like really perfect for him because he can put that in his living room. It looks clean, neat, everything can be played.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's an alternative. It's not necessarily your own.
So yeah, I'll have more on that when it comes close to launch. Really sort of put it through its paces, along with all the mini consoles.
Yeah.
As always, because it's kind of fun to look at this stuff, including of course the announced TurboGrafx 16 Mini.
Yeah, PC Engine Mini.
Don't know a lot about that yet.
No.
I think that's cool that they announced that. I'm very curious to see it. They showed the PC Engine Mini, and the PC Engine is already tiny console,
Yeah,
so the Mini is kind of like, how much smaller is it really?
Right.
But we'll check that out when it comes around. I did go check out the Cyberpunk demo this year.
Yeah.
There's not really new footage to use here, unfortunately, so I'll keep it quick. But this demo I really liked because, unlike last year, they actually set it up in a way, just like a developer mode, where they would, they were infiltrating this old abandoned mall kind of thing.
Right.
Beautiful atmosphere there. And they would actually, at certain points, pause it and then switch to a completely different character build.
Right.
So they were like, all right, here's how you play stealthy. Here's how you play with some action. Here's like more with hacking and different ways to get through it. You can get through the stage without killing anyone. Or you can go in there and bloody the place up. Or you just, take it out stealthily and take out dudes as you please. It kind of had the vibe to me of something like the older Thief games in a way. Or like a Deus Ex kind of thing, where it's like you have you go from the open world to like this place, but the place itself is large, and it seems that there's multiple ways in, rather than just like, okay, you're following a linear path. So in that sense, I really liked what they were showing there, and of course the city itself looked great. It was on a PC, again capped at 30 FPS, but it had some slowdown. I didn't get to see the RTX version, sadly, which they just announced prior to that. So yeah, I'll probably do more on Cyberpunk once we get some kind of footage in a bit. But for now, no, it's still looking really, really impressive, and I'm still puzzled as to how they're going to get this running on the consoles. I mean, lastly, I guess let's quickly wrap up with a few little indie titles, I suppose. Like, I think you saw one that you quite liked.
Yeah, I was checking out Spiritfarer, which we saw at the Xbox press conference, and beautiful hand-animated sprites. Seems to kind of channel a little bit of Monster World 4 as well as Harvest Moon. It's a build simulator with a lot of story to it.
Yep.
Deals with a lot of death and like how the legacy is behind how you remember people. really beautiful. The music is amazing. It's done by Thunder Lotus up in Montreal.
Oh wow.
And they're former Ubisoft people. And so it feels like a French cartoon.
Yeah, it does. It does have that kind of vibe to it. Yeah.
So I loved everything about it. I was really hyped when I saw it at the press conference right after Keanu Reeves. Most people came up while I was playing. It's like, hey, you guys were the people right after Keanu, and they were like, yeah, that's us. It looked beautiful. It played beautiful. Just stunning game to look at.
It's cool.
You did get to play that Lego Forza thing.
Yeah, I think that comes out this week though. Yeah. But Forza Horizon 4, the Lego add-on. They did Hot Wheels for Forza Horizon 3. The Legos look really good because they got some nice physically based materials in there that really capture the look of the plastic bricks.
Right.
And it's really pretty convincing, and it's like you have fields of like Lego grass and trees and like Lego buildings, really cool, and it's a really neat looking thing, and I was really impressed with what they did this. So yeah, we'll probably check that out when it launches. That's it for now, I think. Hopefully you guys kind of enjoyed this kind of random chat. Let us know if you do. It's just a way to talk about what we see here because there hasn't been as much capture as I would have liked, so we're kind of stuck. So just sharing some experiences. So yeah, if you enjoyed it, be sure to let us know and like and subscribe and all that. Ring the notification bell. Have you rung the notification bell?
I have.
He did it, so please. And then also follow us both over on Twitter. And so thanks for joining me, man.
No problem.
All right. And until next time, this is John and Audi signing off.
Featuring 2.4 GHz wireless, 50mm Pro G audio drivers, and DTS Headphone X 2.0 surround sound technology under the hood, the G935 headset delivers the ultimate wireless audio solution for gamers, whether you're playing on PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, or mobile. Order yours today from Logitech G.